Hello everyone, this is MXA News, and welcome to another bi-weekly Mudsling. And I'll be honest, these past 2 weeks have been very beneficial to my sanity, because not a lot has really happened these past 2 weeks. I'm assuming maybe people are calm and recovering from the events of last week. But that being said, there's definitely your terribly online weirdos out there. But the first one we're going to go over today is not one of those. This person seems to be a well-meaning individual. When I put out the video, the MXA special, The Guide to Politics, they commented with two things. Number one, what they did to the USPS is what the Tory, and he's referring to Ronald Reagan, what the Republicans have done to the USPS is what the Tories in the UK have been doing to our National Health Service. We just got them replaced by the Labour Party, which has been taken over by centrists, and they're promising more of the same pretty much, certainly more privatization. Yeah, unfortunately when it comes to a lot of Western countries, we're given the illusion of choice between the radically right party, who's all about privatization, who's all about giving the worst voices and opinion over how you conduct yourself and how you live your life. They get to have all the freedom of speech and all the privileges of being endorsed by the state, versus the Democrats, who aren't as loud about their bigotry. They're not as loud about their contempt for the poor, their contempt for people they look down on, basically. It's one of the big reasons why they lost the election this year again, because I haven't been really loud about it, but I've been telling people privately that this is just going to be a repeat of 2016. If you do not change up your tactics, if you do not approach people in a genuine way, if you are looking to just blame them for not voting for somebody they have no confidence in, then what's going to happen is you're going to try to bully them into voting for the other person. And what has happened with a lot of liberals right now is now they're looking at, for example, Hispanics that voted for Trump, and they're like, oh, it'll be funny if you get deported. They've been doing the same thing with Palestinians who aren't big fans of Joe Biden because of his role within what happened to Gaza. And they're like, oh, well, you're going to get deported too. Like, suddenly, now they were fear-mongering about Trump, and now some of these liberals are like, haha, he's going to punish you. And I'm like, yeah, we see what you're doing. You're switching your tune up and trying to play along because, again, there's these centrists, these liberals that believe that if they play the game, that nothing will happen to them. Except, here's the thing about totalitarian ideologies like anything right-wing. It's never going to be enough for them. You have to give more. You will always have to give more to these ideologies. You have to drink the Kool-Aid. You have to do more crazier shit. Like, there is nothing short they won't stop of. History shows that the further right you go, the more batshit insane everything gets, the less everything makes sense, and it doesn't become so much policies as much as it becomes cult behavior. You're not talking about policies at this point. Now you're fighting over, no, I'm most loyal to this person. No, I'm most loyal to this person. I tell you because this is what happened with the Nazis. Yes, I'm going to mention the Nazis this early on. In Germany at the time, when that party did take over, it was initially about let's recover from the war, let's recover from the inflation, let's recover from this, because that's what they ran on, because whoever the liberals were within the Weimar Republic weren't doing much to appease people, or not even just appease them, but to relieve them from their economic burden that they had. Now, I think we're kind of having a repeat of the same thing. Hopefully it doesn't go exactly as, that did, but who knows? Well, we'll see going forward. So yeah, my point, a lot of liberals, the reason I can't stand liberals at this point anymore is because you scratch a liberal, a fascist bleeds, and they really show their true colors when, they're challenged. I mean, there were plenty of liberals that were telling me, oh, well, if you don't vote for Kamala and prevent all the damage, they're going to do unspeakable things to you. They're going to murder you. They're going to kill you. They're going to send their little minions after you. And I'm like, and you're just going to let them? That's my question. It's like, and you are just going to let them? from what it sounds like. It sounds like you're not going to do anything to stop them. It sounds like you're just going to let them do what they want instead of, I don't know, actually protecting Americans like you said you were going to do. But you don't care about that. The other comment that this person has left on my video: you seem to have think that democratic socialism and social democracy are synonyms. They very much are not, at all. A lot of difficulty on the wider topics are that definitions are really hard to pin down. I don't disagree with that. You can't really speak authoritatively about such terms, meaning your preferred definition. Here's the thing. I will accept the criticism. Perhaps I did mix up democratic socialism and social democracy. I did use them interchangeably, so I won't even disagree with you on that. What I would like you to do, though, instead of going right to you can't speak from authority on this, what I would like you to do is actually add to the conversation and actually try to define to me what democratic socialism is and what social democracy is. What's the difference between the two? Because my whole point about either route you go is, so I was using the Nordic model as an example, right? That's the example that a lot of left-leaning progressives within the U.S. use as a model to what we should be more like. And my criticism of that was that, no, you shouldn't, because just because you ship capitalism overseas does not mean it's still not a problem. Because what's going to happen is you're going to ship that overseas. The global south is going to realize the kind of people that these liberals, these capitalists, all these people are. They're going to get done with their shit, and they're going to assert the right of self-determination, whether that's through not a peaceful process, but through a legitimate legislative process like South Africa did against the apartheid, although there was definitely some civil disobedience and resistance. But the fact is, South Africa is recognized as part of the as an acting body within the international community. When they were, for example, when they were accusing Israel of running an apartheid regime, a lot of people were listening. It wasn't just them. It wasn't just some random country talking out of their ass. They were using their own history to compare to what Israel was doing to the Palestinians. So that's what you're supposed to do with history. You're supposed to look back on history, and you're supposed to compare that history with what we're doing right now. And if there is a pattern of behavior that matches the description, that's when you start saying, oh, well, this is just apartheid in this year. Or, as I see with a lot of right-wing people who are rehashing transphobia and homophobia, it's like, oh, transphobia is just the homophobia of the 90s and early 2000s. Or before that, it's like, oh, this is the same bullshit that the Nazis used against the homosexual and the transsexuals of Hirschfeld's Institute of Sexual Research. And the right doesn't want you to compare them to that because they don't want to be compared to such a thing. And like, well, if your behavior matches it, then not sorry. You need to quit acting this way. They don't want you to call them out on it because they want to continue acting this way without being called something accurate to what they're doing. They don't want to be called out for it. They want to... Anyway, continuing his comment. Sorry, I go on tangents and rants. You can't speak authoritatively about such terms, meaning your preferred definition. I disagree with your definition of communism as a transition to socialism, but it's at least one of the various definitions used. Well, what I would have to ask you then, what is the purpose of socialism if it is not a transition from the capitalist means of production to the communist means of production? I don't understand what you are trying to argue here. Like, my issue with what you're saying is that you're telling me I'm wrong, but you're not telling me why I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong from this frame of reference, but you can't just run in and say, you're wrong, and then run out. Like, that's what this feels like. I know that's not what you're doing, but from what it looks like, it just looks like... Because with your first comment, I can tell that you actually are here in good faith, but you coming in here and telling me I'm wrong without telling me why is just... I don't know. You might want to explain why instead of just telling me I'm wrong. Otherwise, it's not really a conversation, is it? Not really the case with democratic socialism being used interchangeably with social democracy. Again, if I have done that, and I'm not arguing that I haven't, because I definitely did do that within there, but within my frame of reference, and within the frame of reference and the context of this video, can you at least explain the difference between democratic socialism and social democracy? Either way, when I was criticizing the Nordic model, I was criticizing that even though they do have higher wages and socialized everything and a welfare state, this comes at the expense of the global south that they continue to exploit. That was my point of those videos. But again, I'm open to be corrected about those. I did use them interchangeably. Now that we moved on from that, let's move on to the bad faith actors. This post, it was a meme, and they posted that I will never respect anyone who sold off their daughter's rights to save 50 cents on a carton of eggs. I did not like this post, and here's why I did not like this post. Because what you are doing is you are demonizing people for being concerned about their economic well-being. Because a person's liberty is tied to their economic well-being, and now what posts like this are doing is they are shaming people for being concerned about how to pay the bills. But if you were to actually look at it economically and not just demonize somebody for looking at it economically, you got to look at it from both angles. See, here's my other problem with liberals. They want to attack you based on your ideology, but they don't ever want to examine the material conditions on why people would be more concerned. Because it's very easy just to say, well, everybody who doesn't agree with my ideology is racist, everybody who doesn't agree with my ideology is sexist. Like, it's very easy just to put the ist in there without really explaining why they might go to that point. The difference between a leftist criticism and a liberal criticism of this is the leftist is like, hey, you can both have cheap eggs and protect the rights of others. In fact, if you have more economic liberty, you have more choice on how you spend your money. But now what you're doing is you're sacrificing your daughter's and your wife's economic liberty to expand yours. That's kind of fucked up, man. But I know that doesn't sound as sexy as, the let's go to the ism. Let's go to the bad ism. Somebody argued with their business portfolio. It's really, and I'm not even meaning this sarcastically, it is quite brave for somebody with their business profile on their Facebook to express their political opinion. Because, I'm going to give you a hint, their business is not political. Their business is a service that people will use. And it's very brave that you are posting your political opinion saying basically that you are pro-life and against abortion, which may or may not alienate you from several clients that may have issue with you being pro-life. And the thing is, pro-life is supported by so many falsehoods and so many false studies and so much concocted and fabricated misinformation that there's really no reason to be pro-life. And yet the pro-life movement continues because ignorance is bliss for reactionaries. But basically, this person with their business profile, again, really brave, and I'm actually not being sarcastic, it is brave to risk your livelihood. But anyway, this person says, killing your unborn baby should never be a quote-unquote right. In fact, it's a wrong. Holy shit, mic drop. No, but then I asked them, then why are we funding Israel to do so? Both Trump and Biden permitted them to do such. Then they asked, we're funding Israel to kill unborn babies? Are you referring to collateral damage in a legitimate war? The reaction to Hamas might be what you consider a legitimate war, but murdering 40,000 people and leveling an entire city is not legitimate warfare. That is scorched earth policy. That is a human right violation. We have determined this long ago in 1945 when we were examining what the Nazis did, and what the Nazis did with Poland, with the countries that they invaded, was not a legitimate means of warfare. So, again, you are going based off a false reference there. You're following the Zionist, who is determined to say anything and everything to justify what they do. They'll fabricate information, they'll concoct information, they'll say anything and everything. They'll use every means possible to ensure that you are on their side, even if it isn't true. It's been proven time and time again. I mean, recently, they're trying to say that the people in Amsterdam who had committed vigilante violence against the Israeli visitors, that's what it was vigilante violence. They were trying to say that they were anti-Semitic, but the reality of that is there are sources coming out saying that those Israeli crowds were singing about murdering Arabs and excluding Arabs, killing Muslims and whatnot. So they were singing really racist shit. And the group in Amsterdam took it upon themselves to react to their music that they were projecting. Then this person proceeds to say that Hamas deliberately killed innocent babies. They did not. That is concocted information. Men and women at an Israeli festival in their homes on October 7th. That's wrong too, so you can't even tell the truth. It is amazing how with your business profile you are putting out misinformation and dehumanizing the Palestinians just to justify your bigotry against Arabs and Muslims. That's what it is. Like, there's no other way, because you are ignoring information to justify the narrative that you and the Zionists are trying to sell. And as a result, Gaza is now a pile of rubble. That's probably the most honest thing you said. As a result of all the bullshit you just said, Gaza is now a pile of rubble. Nice misinformation. Did a politician pick it for you? And that's where I'm going to leave that there. Because they waited till too late for that. So this post, one page that I did like is harassed by a reactionary, a neo-Nazi, a Holocaust denier, basically every wrong thing they could do. This terminally online doofus is harassing a page that I liked. And this person says, nothing to see here because this page is a mental illness created by the queer mafia. You listen here, you're gonna suck a dick and you're gonna like it. You're gonna suck that dick and I'm gonna make you an offer that I will not let you refuse. Like, really? You guys give us really cool ass names we do not deserve. I'm the queer father. Pedos. Really amusing considering how the reactionaries, the right wing, you cannot Google Republican without being synonymous with, Matt Gaetz alone. Oh, remember Donald Trump when he called Epstein a terrific guy? Remember that? People resisting arrest. People have a right to contest a bullshit arrest. I don't know why that's such a problem. If the cop is abusing their authority, I feel like a civilian or a citizen has the right to challenge the validity of the arrest. Was it an actual lawful order? People have a right to resist that. You can't just arrest people because you fucking feel like it. But, the Blue Lives Matter, because this guy also has a Blue Lives Matter tag in his shit. So, I guess he's very against... I bet he's one of the idiots that also have the Punisher skull without realizing, hey, Punisher would hate you, dude. Who like to play victim by making it look like police brutality. When you're murdering somebody in broad daylight, when you're in 200 pounds of gear and you're kneeling on top of somebody's neck, that's brutality. When you're beating the shit out of somebody because they talk back to you, that's police brutality. When you're breaking somebody's window in and dragging them out of the car and beating them to a bloody pulp, that's police brutality. When you're starving them to death because they gave you a hard time while you were arresting them, that's brutality. When you're letting them die in a cell without air conditioning, that's police brutality. Like, there's several cases where the police have been brutal, and you're demanding that we look away from all of that. I should have known that. I didn't... Radical Marxism. The radical Marxism, the radical belief that if you work, you deserve all of your paycheck. You deserve every bit of your paycheck. Like, I mean, I'm not saying the person who invests doesn't deserve it. I'm not saying the business owner doesn't deserve it, but they don't deserve as much from the worker as they take. That's what Marxism is. Marxism is, hey, yeah, we know that guy takes all the risk, but, like, let's do the math real quick. Something ain't adding up here. That's Marxism. But I guess it's radical to challenge your employer. But this guy is clearly a guy who doesn't like to challenge authority. He thinks that authority is absolute, and that authority should absolutely be able to stomp on your face if they feel like it. That's what's breaking down right-wing ideology, is they believe that you should just absolutely bite the curb if the cop feels like you need to. If your employer feels like that you should starve to death, starve your family to death, and be considered subhuman if you're not able to satisfy the employer, respectively, then yeah, you deserve to die, apparently, according to these types. So, again, is against Black Lives Matter, as he's shown. He's against working people getting a fair share of their check. That's a mental illness, apparently. Okay. By the types of people who believe anything the media tells them to believe, like Project 2025. Except Project 2025 is a real thing that has been projected out into the world by your political affiliation. You're trying to gaslight saying we imagine Project 2025, but it is out there, it is on the internet, and it is real. You guys are now trying to say that it's not real, you just made it up. I'm like, it's been out there for years. You were the ones who are suddenly acting like because they told you to ignore Project 2025, you ignored it, and now they're telling you it's not real. So now that's what you're saying. No, we're reacting to Project 2025 because we have seen it with our own eyes and ears. We have seen the kind of people that want to administrate it. There is a very real reason to be scared right now, because your liberties are at risk because of these fucking nut jobs that we allow into our government. So, yeah, no, Project 2025, it's very much real, and no, we're not happy about it. You can gaslight that it's not real all you fucking want, but it's real. It's like trying to say the Patriot Act wasn't real. It was real. People got detained. I mean, the TSA didn't just fucking pop up there because, man, I really want somebody to not let me take shampoo on the plane. Man, I really want the TSA to steal whatever the fuck they want from me when I'm going to places. Man, I really want the TSA to run through my fucking luggage and just take whatever the fuck they want out of it because, quote-unquote, security. When really, it's just licensed thievery. But, you know, that's the end of this guy's review of this page right here. The comment I replied to, so the page replied to him, says, hey, good thing I'm not left-wing. And the dude's just anti-religion. That's what triggered this guy. The page replied that I'm not left-wing, I'm just anti-right-wing, basically. And I guess that's what's triggering them. So instead of sticking to the point, he goes, the guy who is harassing this page replies with, liberalism and trans cult is modern-day fascism. It's weird that you're concerned with fascism while also endorsing it in the same breath. You love it when the police is never questioned. You love it when the government has absolute control over everything, thus why you're trying to gaslight about Project 2025. You love it when Big Daddy government tells you who to fuck and who to marry and who to kiss and who to, you know. You love it when Big Daddy Don government tells you to do shit, but when people don't like that, you get pissy and angry and throw a little fit about it. And the meme that this person speaks in, because these people aren't intelligent, they can't speak in regular English words. They have to communicate to you through memes and hieroglyphics like they're a bunch of rejected Egyptians. So, know the difference between the swastika and the trans flag. Anti-free speech. Trans people are not anti-free speech every time. You know who is anti-free speech? All the crybabies who say, this game is woke! Why do I gotta use pronouns? Like, you throw little temper tantrums anytime a trans or non-binary person is mentioned in media. For years, you haven't said shit about the drag queens and cross-dressers. Like, we have been entertained by these people for fucking years. And now, just now, in the year of our Lord, 2024, you have a problem with it. You are a little too late to be pissed off, bud, as you have been entertained by this shit. You know who is anti-free speech? The same people who attack music, the same people who attack video games, the same people who attack D&D, the same people who want to burn books and censor everything that you consume. They want to stop. I mean, hell, I'll go over Project 2025 in the aspect that they want to ban pornography. Trans people don't want to ban pornography. You know who does want to ban pornography? The weirdos who are behind Project 2025. Abortion. Both the Nazis and trans people support abortion. I don't think the Nazis supported abortion. I don't think they did. I mean, I'd have to look into it, but I don't think they did. But I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong about that. But that's really not a point of contention there. Incites violence and assault. How many articles did I write, and how many times did I see the right wing inciting the violence? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but January 6th was not about voters of Joe Biden throwing a fit because the election didn't go their way. January 6th was because the voters of Trump didn't get their way, and Trump was asking Mike Pence to undermine the election, and when that didn't work, he was sending an angry mob to Washington, D.C. to violently break into the Capitol and to change the outcome of the vote by basically coercing the senators to certify a Trump win instead of what the numbers supported in 2020, a Biden win. Last I checked, it was the reactionaries and the right wing that did that shit. It wasn't... I mean, you try to say it was Antifa, and no proof of that. You try to say it was the radical left. Again, none of that. Oh, and let's not mention, in this election, let's not forget to mention that within this election, Trump almost got shot twice by registered Republicans each fucking time. So again, you're trying to say that, oh, well, the radical left... I'm not saying there's not violent left-wing people out there. There definitely are. But let's not pretend that right-wing violence isn't endorsed. When Charlottesville happened way back in 2017, Trump described both groups as very fine people. Trump described a bunch of neo-Nazis and white supremacists as very fine people. I don't know about you, but I feel like that's an endorsement and an encouragement to continue the bullshit that the right wants to do, which is to use vigilante violence to coerce people who think differently into the conservative thought process, because the conservative thought cannot win popularly. Even people who are within rural Republican areas do not agree with everything Project 2025 is doing, and some people have even found out the hard way that the Republicans are not fighting for your best interests. And I guess people are still going to be learning that lesson going forward. Control schools. Well, yes, I would like my schools to be controlled, because I don't want some right-wing dipshit saying that the earth is flat and babies come from storks. I don't want some dipshit saying that slavery was actually a good thing, like Ron DeSantis wants to promote within his curriculum. Well, actually, slaves benefited. Well, if slavery is so beneficial, why don't I chain you up and make you do my fucking work until I feel like you should be free, since slavery is so fucking beneficial after all? It's dumb, isn't it? It's a dumb argument, ain't it? Yeah, you're very comfortable with saying, hey, yeah, I think slavery's fine, as long as it never happens to you. No, so yeah, no, pardon me, but I do want the schools to be controlled. I do want quality education. I don't want just some idiot flat earther or anti-vaxxer coming into my schools and telling my kids that you just need essential herbs and oils and you'll find Jesus. I don't want that shit in my fucking schools. Keep religion out of my fucking schools. Controls the media. Trans people don't control the media. You know why they don't control the media? Because every fucking time I see something about trans people, it's always about how they're a problem. The New York Times, it gives transphobes a voice, a louder voice than trans people will ever have. Like, everywhere I look within corporations, there's a lot of news media that tries to debate the validity of transgender people. Yes, there's a lot of creatives who are open to trans people. There's a lot of gamers and game developers that are open to trans people. And realistically, when it comes to a lot of corporations, they're not doing it because they're actually in support of these marginalized voices. They're in support of them because it's another demographic that adds into their wallets. That's not even a bad thing. It's just like, oh, hey, another group of people that'll buy my shit. That's what corporations do. But again, what also really makes me laugh about the control of the media narrative is that this is the same bullshit arguments that the Nazis had tried to lobby against Jewish people. So it's just like they control our schools, they control our media, they incite violence. It's like it's the same nonsense that Nazis have said against all their enemies. Whether it was homosexuals, whether it was unions, whether it was socialists, or as Jordan Peterson likes to say now, cultural Marxism. And yes, the Nazis did control their media, obviously. The Nazis recruited youths and minors. I guess the trans people also recruit youths and minors. It's not really a recruitment, it's like, hey, it's okay for you to be this way. In fact, there's a lot of studies that this isn't a weird way to live. It's giving them a space to really figure out who they are. And there might actually be some that's like, actually, you know what? Maybe I am a cisgender person who's straight or bi. Or like, maybe I'm someone on the more normal side of things as opposed to trans. There's no recruiting involved. You know who I do see at my fucking door every now and then? Mormons, Baptists, Christians. All I see is fucking Christians at my fucking door trying to ask me, have I accepted Lord Jesus Christ into my heart? They've been doing more fucking recruiting than I've seen ever. I don't see trans people or LGBTQ plus going around trying to recruit your goddamn kids. You know who I do see recruiting kids? The Army. The Army, the Air Force, Marines, Navy, the military. The military has been more and more involved in high schools, trying to recruit them and trying to make it sound like this really awesome thing. But let me ask you, how are you going to convince a 17-year-old to read an entire contract and actually process what the fuck that contract means? By the time you sign that shit at that age, it's too fucking late and you're going to do your contract anyway. So, no, the only people I do see recruiting people is the military, churches, and conservatives. Because they know they can't win with adults who think for themselves. They know they can't win with adults who are actually educated. So they gave up on that, and they're trying to, because they can't gaslight the educated into believing their bullshit, so they gotta go for the most uncritical of voices. Yeah, of course they go after children. They also want your children to work, as Republicans have been pushing bills to allow children to work within meatpacking plants. But remember, they are out for your best interests, even though they want your children to die in a meatpacking plant. That's awesome. Entitled elitist. Trans people are entitled and elitist? I'm sure there are some that are. I mean, Caitlyn Jenner alone. Nazis being entitled and elitist. Absolutely. They think they're better than everyone. I feel like this, at this point, though, is more of a projection because, again, this guy is pro-Blue Lives Matter. He's an all lives matter kind of guy. And now he's worried about if people are feeling elitist above him. Well, yeah, of course I'm better than a fucking racist. Because I actually critically think and try to think about how the person next to me is a person regardless of the skin color or where they come from. We might not like the same things. We might not have the same tastes. But I'm still going to acknowledge you as a fucking person. And that's not even like, and this isn't me boasting about it. This isn't me going, oh, I'm so enlightened. No, that's the bare fucking minimum. It's the bare minimum. Like, tolerating other people is a normal person thing. It's not a fucking achievement like some liberals try to make it out to be. No, it's a normal function of life. If you are a normal human being, you will tolerate people. That's not... Now, it's just like, even if you were like this racist for a very long time and then you've come across this realization, actually, I think I should be more open. Congratulations! You've achieved being a functional human being. I mean, yes, I'm glad you're not an asshole anymore, but like, you don't get a pat on the back for being a functional human being. Okay, do something about it then. So, for example, when your neighbor, who is black, is getting fucked with by a bedsheet LARPing idiot, what do? You let him get fucked with and say, oh, sorry, his freedom of speech? Or do you go, hey, fuck off? It's the bare minimum, people. It's not this great feat. It doesn't make you heroic. It's just a normal thing. Slur calling. Yeah, the Nazis call people a lot of slurs. When have trans people... I mean, yeah, I call myself the F-slur because that's the name that the straights have given to me. I mean, trans people are called slurs more than anybody. I mean, okay, then there's minorities and people... There's black people that are called slurs as well. There are now Hispanic people called slurs now. But trans people are definitely among those people that have slurs lobbed at them all the time. Any member of the LGBTQ plus has a bunch of slurs. Actually, they're too fucking count. Actually, here's what really pisses me off. These homophobes, these transphobes, right? They really want to say something fucked up. They really want to say something fucked up. But they realize they've exercised all options of, like, doing that. Because I don't think Facebook now would actually enforce anything against you if you were to use the F slur. I think you could use it and they wouldn't do anything. That's my feeling at this point. I know on Twitter they'll fucking let you. They don't give a shit. But Facebook is starting to get to the point because it has that fucking Project 2025 cuck on there. That bald bastard. Fuck him. So, slur calling. No, trans people are one of the groups that have slurs lobbed at them a lot. But what really pisses me off is they won't just say the slur. They'll find some work around it. Actually, even alone with the whole fuck Biden thing, they don't want to say fuck Biden, so they say let's go Brandon. And I'm like, just say fuck Biden, dude. Nobody's going to get hurt. What's he going to do? Arrest you? He's not going to do that. He's not Trump. But if you're to call me the F slur, just fucking call me it. I know some people might not agree with that, but just quit being a pussy about it. Let everyone know how you really feel about it. Let everyone know how you are not a safe person to be around. That's why I'm telling you to use it. Let everyone know that you are an absolute piece of shit and nobody should respect you. Just let everyone know that, please. I would like it if people weren't thinking I was just crazy and they actually saw you for the piece of shit that you are. You can't even do as much as fucking tolerate people. That's the frustrating part about it. It's not that, oh no, you won't be as enlightened as me. No, it's not that. It's that I am expecting you to be a normal fucking person as is expected when I participate in society. That's the social contract. And now society isn't doing anything about these antisocial fucks that are running around judging you based on who you kiss, who you fuck, and what color your skin you wear. Like, why am I having to tolerate people who aren't willing to tolerate? This isn't a good social contract. The paradox of tolerance is if there's intolerant people, we don't tolerate that because they make life hard to live, not just for the minorities and the marginalized voices they're going after. They're making life hard for everyone else, too. Normal people are getting fucked with now. I mean, hell, some cis women got transvestigated. Cis men got transvestigated because they allowed these freaks to be so widespread. We need to stop tolerating them. Freedom of speech only goes so fucking far. Because even the founding fathers said you can't scream fire in a crowded theater. And I'm going to say that calling bigotry an opinion is screaming fire in a theater. New World Order. Again, more neo-Nazi projection bullshit. In what world is the trans community part of the New World Order? Are you trying to say that we're trying to turn all the world trans? We're going to be like the Joker. We're going to put some chemicals in the water supply and everyone will become a femboy and we'll have a new femboy future. I mean, I'm all about that future, honestly, but that's just me. But I'm just like, you guys are fucking nuts. And the Nazis with the New World Order, I mean, that was their goal, yeah. Experimenting on the mentally ill. Yeah, I call conservatism that, honestly. It is pretty fucked up that the conservatives would run around picking mentally ill people and trying to use them as pawns for their game of divisiveness and trying to turn us against one another. It's just really sad that these kind of people, these neo-Nazis, these conservatives, just can't be bothered to not fuck with the mentally ill. As far as trans people go, well, the mental illness was there before being trans, but you guys would call transness mental illness. But there's a lot of other things, and it's just funny how, like, these people who can't even complete a GED are trying to tell me that they suddenly understand psychology now. You didn't even complete a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, and hell, a high school diploma might be a miracle for some of you dumb fucks with a decimal point IQ. Like, and now you're trying to tell me that you suddenly understand psychology? My favorite one is when they try to call you narcissistic, and I'm like, coming from the ideology that demands to be the center of everyone's attention, we just need to make it to where I benefit again. We just need to make it to where all the media and all the society centers around me, the white guy, again. And I'm like, that's not realistic. That's pretty dumb, actually. Why would you center something on a shrinking minority? It's like, if you are constantly talking about how this group of people is trying to, like this post here, is trying to undermine everyone, yeah, no, your opinions are problematic and we need to ignore you, and not only do we need to ignore you, we need to stop you from spreading your bullshit. That's what asylums used to be for. And I'm not saying they were great. There's a lot of dissenting voices, especially dissenting women, that got thrown in there for that bullshit. But I guess that's the world they want us to return back to, instead of, I don't know, being challenging bullshit people on their bullshit opinions. Eugenics, sterilizing children. I mean, it's been found that HRT does not sterilize your children, because the thing about HRT is once you stop taking the HRT, the chemicals that the body originally produces is what comes back. Which is why a lot of people get so depressed about it, because now they are no longer the gender that they are wishing to be. Because now they're reverting back to... Now, granted, there are some people that people's bodies have different effects with HRT, but sterilization is not one of the effects recorded. So, eugenics, and I don't think a lot of trans people support eugenics. Neo-Nazis do, though, so I don't know why you have a problem with the eugenics portion of it. But knowing how dumb this person is, I'm not going to treat their thing with any seriousness, so I posted a meme of Jesus saying, I used to support Jesus until his protests turned violent and destroyed businesses. And you can find that portion of the Bible within Matthew 21:12-13. This person then proceeds to use a picture from Fox News, only the most accurate and reliable news, and says Minnesota was burned ground zero for the BLM riots of 2020. Harris egged it on, and Waltz... Harris wasn't even a part of it. They will literally say anything. Holy shit. Harris wasn't even a part of it. And Waltz sat by and let Minneapolis burn. He actually did it. He was one of the governors that used the National Guard to crack down against BLM, and Trump praised him for that. So, yeah, that's a load of shit. But, you know, it's Fox News. Who expects accuracy from Fox News? Oh, and that was quoted from Ron DeSantis. Oh, Ron says slavery is good, DeSantis. Yep. That's a guy you want to fucking listen to. Ron DeSantis, who's even seen as a loser by the fucking Republican Party, and that's who they're going to quote suddenly? Yeah. And then I remind everyone, remember the amount of mass shootings committed by your ideology? And I mentioned the neo-Nazi Texas mall shooter. I also mentioned Dylan Roof. Oh, and anti-immigrant fart writers destroying shit. Nah, that doesn't count because it's your team doing it. And I mentioned the British anti-immigrant riots that happened this year. You libtards are inefficient to settle disputes. I think he's mad that I'm not just staying quiet for his bullshit. Dumbasses like that are never content with just staying quiet. They have to, like... If he's not winning the argument, he has to, like, call me a liberal, which I'm not. And I just asked back, what, can't handle the facts, cupcake? Like you libs, you continue to call Kyle Rittenhouse a murderer when he acted upon self-defense under the Second Amendment in the Constitution. It applies to defense of your home that was not his home. I'm not a liberal. Try again when you read past the third grade level. Also, carrying a weapon across state lines is not only a felony, it's hardly self-defense. It's like calling the invasion of Iraq defensive. Only people like you would believe it. You forgot to read the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Self-defense is not a crime. Again, crossing state lines isn't self-defense, but okay. You lefties have nothing else except for the commie propaganda like in North Korea. Dude, Trump-Luddites are more like North Koreans than any leftist I've ever come across. And he replied to the article of the neo-Nazi shooter. This article happened a year ago in Allen, Texas. Nobody cares like what happened January 6th or what happened in 2017 in Charlottesville. I do. Because it's your ideology running around and committing violence. You're saying nobody cares. No, I do care because I don't want assholes like you coming to my fucking town and causing a bunch of bullshit. I want you to fuck out of my town. I want you to stay in the little basement that you fucking dwell in when you're spreading a bunch of neo-Nazi bullshit. I knew a loser like you. He was my fucking roommate and the dumbass lost a fight to a street lamp. You lefties don't have anything to argue about. Explains why Kamala lost the election. I mean, if Kamala's left-wing, then she's not. She's not. My reply to him about the Kyle Rittenhouse shit. An obese child dropped off with a medical bag and a rifle isn't a well-regulated militia. Learn reading comprehension. Lefties understand gun rights more than conservatives who love disarming minorities. And I spread the History Channel article about the NRA when it supported gun control against the Black Panther Party. And my reply to him when he was trying to rebuke my mentioning of right-wing domestic terrorism, just because your attention span is stunted doesn't mean everyone else's is. Also, for not having anything, I haven't seen you use one source which tells me you're primed to bullshit anyone. Nothing wrong here because everyone's capable of owning a firearm. Not you, man. You are not mentally competent to do so. I would argue that you were incompetent. I would argue that you are not in any position to be owning a firearm because when we're talking about able-bodied people, which is what the Second Amendment says, able-bodied men are allowed to defend. If you are mentally incompetent, the mind, the brain, is a part of your body. Therefore, I would argue that you are not an able-bodied person to be a member of the militia. I would argue that you are mentally incompetent and that you would not be suitable to own a firearm. And the only thing that would follow up if that were to be a real court case is they would actually try to test your mental competency. And if you were found to be mentally competent, then the argument I just made isn't sound. However, if you were found to be mentally incompetent, my argument would stand. Sorry, I just laughed at something he shared, the neo-Nazi shared. Bringing up something that happened over 60 years ago isn't going to justify nor change anything. I mean, it can. Keep in mind, not everything in life is always going to go your way. Yeah, you should know that, January 6th. You should know about that. You shouldn't throw a fit over things not going your way, Trump-Luddite. Like when liberals make up stuffed scenarios to prevent being arrested or driving under the influence. And I don't know if he knew this person was liberal. I don't know if this person's liberal, but I'm not going to entertain it because this person, he literally shared a video of somebody getting pulled over. They were apparently an indigenous, non-binary Jedi. They were caught in a DUI, and I guess, I don't know, they were trying to make shit up to get out of the ticket. I've seen a lot of conservatives also do that. I've seen a lot of Republicans also do that. It doesn't matter. A DUI is a DUI regardless of your political affiliation. So, and that's really not relevant to what we're talking about. So it's hilarious that you bring up DUI footage when we're talking about domestic terror and our political liberties, which you don't care about because you support Project 2025. I guess he shared another meme, be gay, do crime, blue lives matter, and then liberal crime. Libs owned! Yes! This dumb piece of shit is just arguing with memes. Okay, degenerate. Let me ask you, who actually calls somebody degenerate non-ironically? I want to know. Like, when I use it, I am joking. I do not fucking mean that shit at all, but this dumbass actually means it. When you're confiscating banned books in a blue state or in a democratic city, and it's a Nazi piling books up for them to be burned. He says he doesn't like Nazis, but he also is promoting a Nazi piling books up to burn. They really do shift the goalposts, don't they, people? Sorry. Well, regular militia, it's people like you that are the reason gun safety courses are a thing. You be one of the morons who looks into the barrel. You wouldn't fit the definition of an able-bodied man. I guess he randomly brings up free speech. Free speech doesn't protect degeneracy, you idiot. It actually does. Like, I know you want the law to be that way, and it's ironic that you're telling me you can't just throw a fit because the law doesn't turn out the way you want it to, and yet every attempt to ban or criminalize LGBTQ plus existence has been challenged by the court because freedom of speech does apply, even if you find it to be distasteful. Yet you're trying to tell me that my freedom of speech is not... I can't just tell everybody who I'm gonna fuck. I can't just tell everybody who I find attractive. I just can't do that because according to you, that's not covered under freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is only when it's your speech regurgitated through my lips. You only want me to have freedom of speech when it's your opinion out of my lips. And I think that's what makes you mad is I'm not validating your dumb bullshit. And thus you're demanding for the government to enforce that everyone has the same opinion, except it's not going to happen. They're going to try to. I'm not saying they're not going to, from a lack of trying. They're definitely going to try to. But you're not going to force everyone to have the same fucking opinion. I mean, the government has 2 amendments on when it tried to ban alcohol, and banning alcohol within the country with basically every nationality and background and lineage that drinks. We're going to ban alcohol. We're going to render it not a part of our life. And yet, in the year of our Lord 2024, a century later, we are drinking because, goddamn, we need some way to cope. And yes, we're also doing degeneracy because, goddamn, we need some way to cope. Oh, and then I retort because he says I'm making shit up. And I'm like, except I didn't make any of that up. I'm actually using sources. You're so dense that light bends around you. Meanwhile, you geniuses flip out about litter boxes in schools. Number 1, the only place you need permission or a bathroom pass to use the bathroom, and suddenly you could just shit in a litter box? Number 2, another reason litter boxes would never be in a school, health code violation. Have you ever been around a litter box? They wouldn't even keep that shit outside the school. But you're telling me that they have litter box inside the school. So at school, when I went to school, I needed permission or a bathroom pass to go to the fucking bathroom. It varied from teacher to teacher, But the fact is, I still needed permission to go to the goddamn bathroom. And now you're telling me that kids are now growing up able to shit in the litter box. Wake the fuck up, people. Or how about the transgender surgery allegedly happening in schools? You mean to tell me that a teacher cannot get a hold of paper, pencils, staplers, school supplies? They have to run fucking fundraisers to get their supplies. But now suddenly we have decided that I guess we're going to give them surgical equipment so that you can do transgender surgery on students in schools now. Apparently. That's their logic. And then when they kept calling everyone degenerates, I'm like, okay, swastika, have fun when your neighbors get sick of your Nazi shit. And then I said, hold up. I think I've seen where this goes before. Conquered all Europe, trying to kill all those libs and commies, and oh wait. It helps when you know how to win wars. It helps when you don't lose the only war you fought. Cry harder. You would die in the gulag you're demanding to be built. Probably, but here's the thing. I'm not talking about the Soviet... I talk about the Soviet Union in this case to piss you off because, you know, Nazis get really butthurt when you bring up the fact that they were beaten by the USSR. So then my reply, bro, you don't even know American history. How the fuck you gotta learn Russian history too? You don't even know the English language with your GED sounding ass. And I'm pretty sure you got less education than Tim Pool at this point. Being dumb isn't a sin. Being dumb and unlikable, you're just on a fast track to being an antisocial degenerate. And he proceeds to double down. If Stalin saw you, he'd throw you in a labor camp, and if you're gay, he'd throw you into gulags and execute you. Yes, Stalin would personally find me sucking a dick, grab me, and throw my ass in a fucking gulag. Personally. Because Stalin cares that much about fighting degeneracy. Wouldn't you like him, actually? Like, you're talking about him like he's a bad guy, and then he's doing the thing that you would actually approve of. How do you dislike this man? Wouldn't you be more Stalinist, if anything? You don't like liberty. You want everyone else to be deprived of it. If Stalin is this big totalitarian bad guy that you think he is, I thought you would like him, actually. Because homosexuality is strictly prohibited in leftist countries. Yet Cuba is also one of the few countries in the world that had codified the right of an LGBTQ plus family into their legal code. Fidel Castro apologized for his regime's treatment of homosexuals. Meanwhile, we're still debating if trans people are people in our country. And we're talking about criminalizing them now. And you want to talk about how leftist countries are supposedly cruel to... Okay. Alright. You liberals are so... Again, I'm not a fucking liberal. I don't know how many times I need to tell your dumbass that. Again, I know you probably failed out of school before Tim Pool has, but Jesus Christ, I'd expect that you would remember shit, but you're probably so hopped up on whatever amphetamine that your neo-Nazi group gave you that no wonder why you couldn't win this election. Because you're inefficient, unproductive physically and mentally. Liberals praise ignorance. And, yeah, I guess they were comparing the modern leftist with Russia in 1945. Well, since this guy is such a big fan of the neo-Nazis, as he's been tracking the points of, he's just like, well, if Hitler saw you, well, he wouldn't see you. SS wouldn't even put you anywhere except the same place Ernst Röhm went. But hey, keep reciting every line of nonsense a benzo's addict sobbed into your ear. I'll just pretend that the degenerate who's in denial of his homosexuality has somehow read on anything besides the gay porn he browses. Keep crying. The Nazis haven't won one war. They lost the only war they fought, and I'm sure you can relate. The Nazis were lefties, Einstein. Such ignorance coming from the left. Why can't you talk like a normal person? Why can't you talk like a normal fucking person? Explains why the left can't do anything correctly, like securing the border or educating people and not indoctrinating people with gender confusions. So, they're somehow not competent, but they're also super competent. The enemy is both strong and weak. And my retort, they really weren't. If you're going with the National Socialist argument, why don't you just eat a urinal cake? Aren't you supposed to be at work right now? He was commenting this while he was probably also at work. But I guess the criticism is supposed to be against me, even though he's messaging me at the same time. Or commenting, sorry. Not waste time defending homosexuality, degeneracy, and infidelity? I never defended infidelity. Projection. Get a life, mama's boy. Projection. You're on here too, basement dweller. Go suck a dick. You'll feel better. Everything I don't like is just like the Nazis. A book for basic dickheads. I mean, a lot of right-wing people might say that, oh, everything he says you're comparing to Nazis. And I'm like, well, examine the context of what he's saying with what the Nazis said. Calling everything degenerate. Saying everything, you need to quit tolerating degeneracy. Saying that homosexuality is just something you don't need to defend. You need to purge it. That is the same bullshit the Nazis have been saying. On top of his vehement demonization of anything left-wing, socialist, or pro-union. And I reply with, you're the one copying Nazi talking points and didn't bother to deny it. You may consider it cancel culture, but it's well past your time. Your cultures were canceled. MXA News, the left can't meme, hall of shame, and I give him a yawning emote. Or yawning gif. I guess another person said, this page is a fucking joke. Him and all of his followers too. Somebody sounds big mad. Sure, bud. When you're confiscating... Yeah, he used that meme again. When you're confiscating banned books at school libraries in a blue state or democratic city, education, not indoctrination, you're an idiot. You're posting a picture of a Nazi collecting books like it's a good thing. And you people want me to not call him a Nazi when he's promoting Nazi shit. Holy fuck. I guess then they replied, the same women who are shaving their heads, swearing off sex, and wearing blue unity bracelets are the same group that said you were in a cult. Let that sink in. Well, the reason a lot of women are choosing not to have sex is because now they live in a state where abortion could be banned. They can no longer access to health care that's to guarantee a safe delivery of a child. Doctors can be criminalized by conservative states, and because Democrats have a history of giving conservatives whatever they want, now doctors aren't even protected. Now doctors aren't even allowed to treat women if they're going through a horrible time with... There's a lot of complications that could happen, but now the doctor is limited on what they can do, so now basically a lot of doctors under conservative doctrine have to just let the woman die and let the fetus rot inside of them and just fester, die, and it's an unnecessarily cruel thing, but the reason a lot of women are swearing it off, because now if anything happens to them while they're pregnant, they're not going to be able to get the treatment for it now, because some religious nutcase wants to control how we do all aspects of life. Shaving the heads might be a little far, but, it's their body. They get to do what they want with it. I think that's probably what they're trying to state is you cannot tell me what I can do with my body. And honestly, a lot of short-haired women, very attractive. And wearing blue unity bracelets, yeah, that's a dumb gesture. I agree with that. Are the same group that said you were in a cult. Well, you follow everything Fox News and Donald Trump tells you. And don't question it. You don't even compare it to reality. What you do is you look for things that validate your perspective. I challenge my perspective all the time. And there have been times where, should I be left-wing? Should I be as far as I am? But then I look at reality again, and I look at other sources, and I look at what other people say, and I find there's more of a consistency with the school of thought that I'm pursuing. I don't find consistency with the opposition. That's not something a cultist would say. A cultist would say, well, this person told me, therefore it is correct, and if you disagree with it, you're stupid, and I'm going to shame you until you agree with them. That's a cult. Like those saying, I'm leaving the U.S. but don't, because a lot of us can't afford to. You keep telling us to leave the country if we don't like it. Why don't you just pay for our way out if you hate us that much? Why don't you just pay for our passport, pay for the $5,000 that we need to get into Canada? Why don't you just pay all that? Oh yeah, because none of us can. Because your politicians that you're throwing into office are ensuring that you can never leave the place you're in because the employer needs their servants. They need somebody who can't afford to leave. You have no legal argument, just say you're a sore loser and move on. I guess whoever is arguing with him is arguing about the election. Inciting violence as assault, that's not so tolerant, the left can't meme. Again, the right wing has a longer record of it than the left. I actually find that even though some might be escalations, I find that the majority of left-wing groups being quote-unquote violent is instigated by the right-winger who wants to maim and harm one of their own. Their violence stems from their defensive community, while the right-winger's violence stems from wanting to eradicate that community. You waste too much time, go get a job, mama's boy. So this person is also making all these comments while everyone's at work. And we're the mama's boys for not being on our phones on Facebook at this hour. I didn't get this dude's reply until like 45 minutes or an hour later, because I was doing shit with my life while this loser was typing on the keyboard, because that's probably the most accomplishment he ever gets from his life. Stop Project 2025. It's somebody who doesn't have a chin, and I reply with, you're gonna tell everyone that that's what a anti-Project 2025 person, when that looks exactly like Mitch McConnell? You're more boring than my job selling off Yu-Gi-Oh! Vanguard cards. And I reply with, so that's why you're afraid of deodorant. Don't you have a work or a job? I mean, if I really want to be a dickhead, is selling Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards really a job? It is. Realistically, it is. But, like, if I really wanted to be a dick, is selling Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, selling children's toys a real job? Or should you get out there and, right now, after Project 2025, after Trump deports millions of people who supposedly stole your jobs, there's a lot of hardworking farm jobs that's going to be open. If you want a real job, you should go out there and pick the crops, because those jobs are going to be open, and you should definitely consider going out there and getting a real job instead of being some loser in a card shop peddling neo-Nazi shit and selling Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. Why don't you have work or a job? You're assuming I don't. You were messaging, you were commenting at the same time I am, and you're assuming I'm the one who's unemployed? I think it sounds like projection, bud. I don't think you really sell. I think if you do it on a personal basis. You don't actually work for a business. I think you just sell these cards online. And I'm not going to diss you. I'm not going to disrespect you for that. I mean, a hustle's a hustle, but, like, you can't really fucking come at me about not having a job, and then if that's what you're doing, if you're only working for yourself, that's not a real job according to some people. But I'm not going to shame somebody for how they make money and how they pay the bills. It's just amusing that you're really trying to project that mama's boy, mama's boy, mama's boy. And I'm like, dude, I think the only people who are mama's boys are people who are pushing anti-Semitic bullshit. I think the only mama's boys are those who wear swastikas and think it's cool. Because, like, Nick Fuentes, for example, actually, recently, he fucking said some dumb shit, and now he's getting doxxed, and I don't condone that. I just think it's funny it happened to him. You shouldn't dox anyone, though. Because the dude's gonna look like a dumbass on his own. Why are you gonna help him? But it's just hilarious how hard they project. Same for you. Oh, wait, you're projecting. You don't seem to be stable enough to maintain a home situation. How is it when mommy drops you off at a game store? Oh, and then the page and the person the page is saying, round 2, let's go. And I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. My brain cells have been murdered enough. He has genocided my brain cells enough. So yeah, that... Oh god, we went out. That's not as bad as 2 hours. So, that is all that happened these past 2 weeks. One person who was in good faith and was just questioning my conflation of democratic socialism and socialist democracy. And a dumb neo-Nazi. But I just find it weird that the people that's like, you need to stop calling everything Nazis, and then proceeds to regurgitate every Nazi talking point. In fact, if you actually look into the Heritage Foundation and look into the foundation of Agenda 47 and the foundation of Project 2025, you will find that they use the conspiracy theory of the Frankfurt School. The Frankfurt School is a conspiracy theory that says Jewish teachers, Jewish professors who were left-wing escaped the Nazis, and because they couldn't criticize the economy, they turned to social issues instead. So number one, this demonizes Jewish people who escaped the Nazis, so think about that one for 2 minutes. And, yeah, no, it's just like... And on top of that, not this person, but another person was like, if you're going to ask if I deny the Holocaust, yes, I do. And I'm like, wow. I never thought in the year of our Lord, 2024, that somebody was going to be in Holocaust denial. Especially, like, considering everything that's happening right now. It's really bold to deny the Holocaust right now, considering how fucking risky that is, but also how stupid that is, considering there's many records proving that it did happen. And then trying to say that Hitler's name was slandered. And I'm like, I think she might have actually got banned off that page, so I can't really, like, go back to that conversation. Thank God somebody has standards. It just makes me laugh that when reactionaries say, I thought you were all about freedom of speech, so much for the tolerant left. I'm like, yeah, but you're not. So why are you asking me for something that you would not extend to me? You wouldn't extend that same... So it's supposed to be treat others how you would want to be treated. I know you wouldn't treat me that way, so why would I extend that same courtesy to a group of people that wouldn't do that for me? And before you say that's not very Christian of you, well, number one, I'm not a Christian, so you can get that out of your head right now. And number two, I believe there was something where Jesus said, do not cast pearls before swine. And I think he refers to do not give wisdom to people who are not willing to listen. I feel like freedom of speech might be something that's extended to wise people, not fools. And that's my hot take on that. But when you get out there, remember to keep fighting the good fight. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I do, read my articles on Medium, watch some of my YouTube videos. I am going to try and produce more of them. And if you really, really like what I do, consider my Patreon. Thank you so much for listening. And again, keep fighting the good fight. I said it already. Goodbye. Why are you still here?